guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides. We're here on the Pacific Coast in Santa Rosa, California for a very, very special reason. It's this vehicle right here. This is it, the all-new, totally redesigned 2022 Subaru WRX. But before we get into the original rally racer, let's talk about what's going on here, Subaru. They've been making models for decades. Now, what's crazy is, as Americans here in the United States, we have sort of received the short end of the stick. We didn't get a WRX until 2002. And that may not seem like a big deal, but the Impreza and the Impreza WRX had been around since the 1990s. Now in 2002, that bug-eyed WRX really won over the hearts of so many people that in 2004, on that redesign, Subaru decided to not only have the WRX, but also the STI. And then guess what? As they say, the rest is history. Now, fast forward to the 5th generation of this legendary icon. Subaru is being that brand that is going to bring unique style, but also that turbocharged all-wheel drive performance. And guess what? You're still going to have the availability of a 6-speed manual transmission. Now, there's a lot of cars in this compact class bringing their own performance, from the Honda Civic Si, the Volkswagen GTI, the newcomer, that Elantra N sedan, and of course even vehicles like the Type R. What I want to find out though is, when it comes to price, is this the performance compact sedan that you should be buying and driving and enjoying every day? Or should you go with one of the competitors? Let's go ahead, let's dive into our World Rally Blue Subaru WRX and find out. Right off the bat, like I said, all new design. The car is longer, it's wider, and it has a longer wheelbase. That's gonna make this be a car that's very stable, but also gives you a ton of room on the passenger side of things for all your passengers. Now, at the front of the business, we've already talked about how lots of discussion about the direction they went in with the design, but I'm telling you, these smaller headlight housings really fit the new personality of the WRX. LED daytime running lamps, looking sharp, LED projector beam style headlights, and you even have your LED fog lamps that I have illuminated special just for you here. Now, just like I mentioned in other reviews on this WRX, the zonk that I have is for this fake vent area. I wish they either would have made this functional or just kept it smooth. I would have been fine with the smooth part. Now, as we come across the new front end, this has a lower drag coefficient. Subaru did a lot of work in the wind tunnel testing to really cut down on the amount of drag. So if you notice, with that extra width, the nose actually projects forward. We have a larger grille area, nice gunmetal metallic gray. I'm glad that they didn't use any gloss black. Of course, that constellation, that badge behind the brand, that Subaru logo looking slick. And then on the bottom portion, the way that they work this splitter into the front fascia makes it look aggressive, but it's also going to help scoop air into that massive radiator and stop air from going underneath the vehicle. Now, the great news is, any air that does go underneath the vehicle, instead of creating lift, there's an underside spoiler to help direct that airflow to give you that suction to the asphalt, or as you can see, to this grass and mud, which a lot of WRX rally cars experience on those rally stages. Now, when we get up onto the hood, it's still here, and guess what? Instead of getting taller, it's gotten wider. Nice large opening for that top mount intercooler. All that air is going to be force fed, and the great news, like I said, is that it's functional. Now, one of my favorite aesthetic pieces that you can't see in pictures, you may not even be able to really appreciate it here on this video, is this area right here. I love the way you got your bulge, but then you notice the body line rises up and it curves towards the A-pillar. Really gives it a unique look, and I'm telling you, you might say, Joe, you sound like a sellout. How does this really look in person? I think some of the parts really make more sense when you see the vehicle in person. Now, when you come around the bend, this is where there's been a lot of discussion with this vehicle, and it all comes down to the wheels and tires. So you have a nice 18-inch wheel, which is fantastic, 18-inch wheel, gunmetal metallic gray. Base wheel is going to be a 17-inch, 18-inch on ours. You're going to have nice Dunlop summer rated tires. Gonna give you that grip. Of course, the symmetrical all-wheel drive. Now, I am not in love with the flat black fender treatment, but the great news is this texture, they actually showed us video footage of this golf ball style texture actually helps with airflow, especially on the backside. Notice on the backside of the fender here, this is actually functional. So you're gonna get that wonderful air cut down on the turbulence. And then there's also, which is hard to see on the inside, that's gonna take air from underneath the hood and drag it out the fender to help cut down on turbulence, because at speed, especially high speed, turbulence is not your friend. But the great news is, like I said, symmetrical all-wheel drive, something that the Volkswagen GTI does not have, the Civic Type R does not have, and the Elantra N or the Elantra, or the Veloster N does not have all-wheel drive. Now, as we continue down the side, you can see how that venting, it does look good in person. It's just, I'm curious what this would have looked like if they used a blue to match. I think it kind of would have just cleaned up the whole style, but let me know what you think in the comment section. We do have World Rally Blue on your mirror caps, your turn signals built in very nicely. You can see the length, the extra length of this WRX has grown in size, but nothing too crazy. One of my favorite parts is that side sill, how it extends down for that aerodynamic efficiency. Of course, color matched on the door handles. Working our way down, all this sheet metal is new, because we're sitting on that global architecture. The first time the WRX and the upcoming STI will be on global architecture, and nothing is shared with the Impreza. That's why in 2015, from 2015 to 2021, you look at a window sticker, it didn't say Impreza on it anywhere. You look on the car, it doesn't say Impreza, it's a WRX. Let's continue our journey. You're gonna have a color matched shark fin antenna on our limited trim. You can see how we have, yes, that flat black on the back portion, but it gets really nice and aggressive as it comes down on an angle, especially on this lower portion. We do have functionality in this back corner area on both sides. And then check out that magma, they call this magma lava, the way that they did the illumination of the LED taillights. It even has a Subaru name all the way stamped inside, some gloss black. I think the one thing that I'm not really in love with is this massive section of gloss black, so I'm gonna zonk that, but it's got the WRX style trunk lid spoiler, not the big wing, but it's got a nice kick up on top of already a kick up of just the trunk, so it's a kick up on top of a kick up on top of a kick up. Say that 20 times fast. Little bit of a cutout section, looks great. I do love the, of course, the Subaru badge WRX. And then as we drop it as it's hot, or drop it like it's hot, you do have a massive flat black area in the back. I don't know if it would look better if it was body colored. So this is one of those things, I promise, wait until you see it in person. I'm actually liking the look of it overall. I know that sounds crazy, but with the quad tip exhaust, it's gonna give us that great style from the back, the tail end of the business. But why don't we go ahead, enough talk about the exterior. Let's talk about the all new engine under the hood of our WRX. All right, guys, before we go on throttle, which I know you've been waiting for, you're chomping at the bit, we need to talk about the power plant. And guess what? It's all new for 2022. That is that familiar top mount intercooler. You pop the hood on a WRX, always have that top mount intercooler, obviously a little bit larger. And the great news is still not a bunch of black plastic covering up all those inner bits underneath the hood. But what are we looking at? You're looking at a 2.4 liter flat four turbocharged engine, 271 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, mated to, yes, a 6-speed manual transmission, or you could get that updated, upgraded Subaru Performance transmission. The great news is weight. Even though the car is a little larger, you're still looking at an overall weight of 3,294 pounds. MPGs around 21 in the city, 27 on the highway. If you know how to dance on your twinkle toes, 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds flat. If you're wondering, well, what's the difference between this engine and the Outback XT or the Legacy XT? You got different valve springs, an electric control wastegate valve, and of course, specific tuning for this setup. Another thing is you have new motor mounts, and you also have a new VDC control that has track mode, talking about the different tuning Another thing that's wonderful is, guess what? 85% of WRX owners buy one with a manual transmission, 25% buy one that's World Rally Blue. But before we go on throttle, let's go ahead, let's hear what this WRX sounds like. All right, guys, we're inside this 2022 WRX, the 5th generation, all new from top to bottom. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, how much is this WRX? Because I'm ready to pull the trigger. I'm curious to see it in person. What are the numbers? Well, officially, pricing is not available yet. It's probably not going to be for another month or so, but I'm going to give you some insider kind of estimates on pricing. And it kind of makes sense if you look at the competition and what they're asking for their vehicles. So I'm going to probably say that MSRP estimate will be base, because you could go different trims, base, premium, limited, or the top GT trim. Base will be around an MSRP of $30,000, and I think the GT trim will top out around an MSRP of $36,000. It'll be interesting to see what the limited is all about. I'm going to say probably around $33,000 to $34,000, but hey, it may be lower, which that won't be an issue whatsoever, I'm sure, for many people's wallets. But let's see what you're going to get once we find out what the official pricing is to the door panels. Love the clean style. If you haven't been in a Subaru WRX since 2004, things have changed in a very good way. The red contrast stitching just adds that extra something that's really special. No gloss black, and when you go limited trim, you're getting the Harman Kardon sound system. Door pocket, though, is the zonk. You can't even get an In-N-Out burger in there without squirting mustard and ketchup on this beautiful interior, but you can get a bottle of Surge to hopefully wash down some of the mess that you made by taking your In-N-Out burger and fries and jamming them in that door pocket. Now, going from the door panel to the dash, look at the way they did such great work with the AC vent. That almost looks like a samurai sword blade. Really like the attention to detail. Red stitching, because red means race. And I love the way it's all about soft touch material, gunmetal gray finish. New is the optional 11.6-inch infotainment system screen. When you go limited, this is what you get. Navigation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It is touchscreen, and it is very easy to use. You got your Sirius XM. What I would do if I were you is I would leave it right here, because if you're going to do a track day, if you're going to do an autocross event, you definitely want to know what your oil temp is and what your water temp is from that flat 4 turbocharged engine. Easy to get right back to the map with your CarPlay and Android Auto. The way you access that is you go into your apps, boop, 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 1, 2, 3, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Plus, you could also get the ability to make adjustments to your vehicle control settings, driver assistance, all that good stuff. But we're going to move on, and it's real easy because you just go back to home. AC controls are a blending of actual buttons and touchscreen. We got the updated, upgraded triple heaters on the seat heaters. So if you're up in Vermont and you're doing your rally, you can keep your tuchus really nice and warm. I'm going to shut off because it's already hot right now in California. You do have your start-stop button easy to get to. And then all the finishes, connectivity, USB-A's, aux jack, and a 12-volt. Of course, you got to have a rally-inspired Twinkie holder. Colin McRae, that was his favorite snack, were Twinkies. After a win or a championship, he would eat about 13 or 14 of them in one sitting. That's why Colin McRae is one of the greatest of all time. 6-speed manual transmission, one of the greatest of all time. It's been updated for 2022. Smoother shifts, crisper engagement. Love the leather shift knob. Hashtag save the manuals with the red stitching on the shift boot. You can get that SPT, Subaru Performance Transmission, as optional, and it's the only transmission on the GT trim. The one thing I wish that this had, which I am going to zonk, is that I wish you could get adaptive dampers from the GT on this limited trim WRX. That would have been a nice extra performance advantage. Good old mechanical e-brake, 2 cup holders, super soft on the armrest. Oh, lift it up. You got enough to get rid of all the germs in your life with some wipes. And then the seats. They did a phenomenal job. WRX embroidery, love on the limited trim. You're gonna get the nice grippy microfiber suede material with the leather and the bolstering. Manual adjustments for the passenger. I have electric adjustment for the driver. Plus you got your standard size sunroof. And like I promised, look, I'm swimming in space in here. There's more passenger and cargo room in this new WRX compared to last year. But why don't you come over here? I want to show you behind this race car inspired steering wheel in our 2022 WRX. All right, guys, business way time on this WRX. I'm holding up 10 fingers, 5 and 5. The reason why, I got a 10-way adjustable seat, electric, pedal box, just as good as the rally cars with aluminum dead pedal, clutch, brake, and throttle. Let that flat four sing. There's your seat controls. I got plenty of room. I'm 6 feet tall. Manual adjustment on the steering wheel, but you know what? It's easy to set it and forget it, but you're never gonna forget your first time grabbing onto this wheel. A little bit of faux carbon fiber, nothing too crazy, but I love the baseball Babe Ruth style stitching. And then of course that dash, you got your analog tach, analog speedometer as it should be. Small digital display in the center, but you do get a gear indicator, which is great. Everything else is going to be through that digital display. I think one of the biggest things that I love is that the steering is going to be so much different in this WRX than the previous model year. The reason why is they reworked the whole rack and pinion with a dual pinion setup to give you better feedback, better feel, and a nice weight to it. Now, obviously a lot of people buy WRXs. They sold over 400,000 of them since 2002 because of their performance, but because of usability as well, backseat and trunk. We have already covered that in the first part of this review. I will leave the link at the end for that total in-depth review of the backseat and the trunk and everything else that you want to see more of. But it's about that time. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go on throttle in the 2022 WRX. All right, guys, we're inside the all-new 2022 Subaru WRX. Great feeling to be behind the wheel of this car finally, because obviously there's been a lot of discussion about the way it looks. And I really think that the more people spend time around this vehicle, the more it's gonna grow on them, because it's definitely growing on me. The 2.4 liter really is a nice addition, and I'm telling you, the numbers, it's one of those things here on Raiti's Rise, we tell you not to focus just on the spec sheets. And even though the horsepower number is not this massive increase over the previous model year, you can feel the difference in the torque delivery and definitely the way that it drives. Rev hang has been eliminated, everybody, so that's the big news of the day. And having the 6-speed manual is just really that feeling that you want to be connected. But let me go ahead from second gear on throttle. Here we go. All-wheel drive. Really nice to be able to go from second to third. You have that nice positive shift action. Steering with that 2-pinion rack and pinion setup really gives you better feedback. And I love the D-shaped steering wheel. Still, it's taken some time for me to get used to the larger infotainment screen in the WRX, but you know what? When it comes to feel, fit, and finish, the bar definitely has been raised for this vehicle. Downshifts, like I said, no rev hang. I like still being able to see that hood scoop up top, really bringing that heritage to what the Subaru WRX is all about. And the brakes feel good too. Look at this. Here we go. Even with the wet roads, we got the symmetrical all-wheel drive, and that's why you feel good in this car. But here we go. Look at this. Nice and easy. Third gear. And you can definitely, from the previous generation WRX, you can feel the engine spool up faster with those different bits. And the way it soaks up the bumps. I mean, this isn't a smooth road by any means, but it's doing a great job when it comes to the overall suspension and how the chassis is doing more of the work. Through this little switchback here. Really, really nice. I love this manual transmission. I'm telling you, if you have a 2021 or older, you're gonna feel the difference. Let's go on throttle. On throttle, here we go. Yeah! Smooth shifts. Really, really nice. Guys, driving around out here in California is just, these are the roads that you live for. But I know what you guys live for. It's the same thing I do. Some more on throttle, second gear. On throttle, here we go. All the way up to red line. Nice, right into third gear. This is what it's all about. And then, like I said, you have that symmetrical all-wheel drive. I love the weight to the steering. Really allows you to feel what the front end of the car is doing. You got your analog gauges, that classic setup. I don't need a digital dash. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you want a full digital display in this WRX? But the aero, with that lower drag coefficient, is really feeling good even at higher speeds. That's where it really starts to hunker down, and you can see all the work they did with the aero. Let's do this long sweeper here. On the brakes a little bit. This is fan-freaking-tastic. All right, guys, here we are going through some twisty bits. You know, comparing this to my STI, it's interesting because the work that they did with the new chassis, they've taken the hard work from the suspension. And I could definitely feel that compared to my STI Type RA. Now, obviously, I would need to drive the cars back to back, but it's not bouncy, which is great. And that really allows you to feel confident, even when the road is twisty, and even when the road is damp and bumpy, you feel confident. And I do like the way it pulls all the way to the red line. So the work that they did with this 2.4 compared to the Outback or the Legacy, it really shows that they did devote specific tuning and parts for this particular application. But brakes feel wonderful. Good feedback from the steering wheel, and I like the size of the wheel itself. Obviously that D shape to it allows you to be able to get in and out of the car a lot easier. But here I am in third gear, and it's nice because you could really use the power band. You're not shifting as much as the previous model year. So that's another thing that I like about this 2022 WRX, is you just leave it in third gear as we're going through these twisty bits, and it feels good, and you don't have to keep downshifting and upshifting. Really good feedback. The visibility, obviously, in the WRX and the STIs over the years, especially previous model generation, has been phenomenal. The A-pillars are very far apart, and I do like the way they lowered the roof a little bit to give it a little bit more sportier look, but also help with aerodynamics as well. This route that they chose for us to take the new WRX has been phenomenal. Heel toe downshifting, just like before, is spot on the money. The pedal box is phenomenal. And I'm telling you, there's a lighter flywheel there because the engine revs quicker. Right now I'm in second gear, and I'm just gonna be quiet for a second. Really, really nice. I guess what I would like to have seen is a little bit better sound in the cabin. And I think the way to do that would not have been artificial, but actually allow the exhaust to have a little bit more sound to it. Maybe even put an adaptive exhaust to where you can have it louder or quieter depending on what you want. Now I know probably, I'm gonna guesstimate 75 to 80% of WRX owners are gonna change the exhaust anyways, but it is nice to have a good building block from the get-go as soon as you leave the dealership. But, you know, other than that, the drivability is what's phenomenal in here. I mean, we could sit down and have a discussion and a debate over the looks of the new WRX, but definitely the proof is in the eating of the pudding, or in this case, the driving of the WRX, and it drives really, really well. Would I have liked to see 300 horsepower? Of course. I think we were all hoping for something like that, but let's keep our fingers crossed and see what the new STI is going to be all about. But I think many people that get behind the wheel of this WRX are going to be just as impressed as I am with the drivability and the comfort of the seats. Let's talk about that for a second. So they totally redesigned these seats. In the Limited, you're getting that wonderful Alcantara microfiber suede material that's really grippy. They're super comfy. The previous gen were pretty comfy, I felt. These are even better, and they hold you in place without you feeling like you're in a vice grip. Plus, you got the full electric assist for the driver's side here, and I was able to set it up perfectly for my body type. But I'm telling you, this is just on throttle. Here we go. That's third gear. On the brakes. I feel like I'm invoking Colin McRae here when he used to race for Subaru in the World Rally Championship. This is just awesome. Look at this. This is what driving's all about. And this is really, really just great that they still have the manual transmission. Really soaks up the bumps, really smooth. Weight transfer is predictable, doesn't catch you off guard. And I'm telling you, the way the roads are damp and even a little bit of gravel, that's Subaru right there. That's the symmetrical all-wheel drive. All right, guys, one more time for you. Definitely one more time for me. We're doing this from a dead freaking stop on a damp road in the WRX, and then we're gonna wrap this one up. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Here we go, yeah! Nice! I'm telling you right now, this thing launches harder than the previous generation, hands down. And obviously, you didn't hear any screeching tires. And normally, a screeching tire is a happy tire, but on a Subaru, a quiet tire is a super happy tire because of that all-wheel drive. But hopefully this gave you a nice overall feel of what the vehicle's all about. We're gonna get back to where it all started and wrap this one up, so I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been one heck of a day out here in California with the 2022 Subaru WRX. I definitely want to thank the whole Subaru USA team for allowing Raiti's Rides access to this media event. What do you think? Has Subaru done enough to make this worth the price, especially when you compare it to the very tough competition from the other brands? I think the proof is in the eating of the pudding and the driving of this WRX, which I hope that you get to do one day very, very soon. But let me know in the comments what you think about what you're getting on the new WRX and if it would be the car for you. Because guess what? Subaru is reading the comments. But you know what? If you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raiti's Rides family. If you want to help us keep making great content just for you on the channel, click the link in the description. Get yourself some Raiti's Rides merch. Got to give it up to the queen behind the camera. She went up to the top of the lighthouse. She saw a ship from a million miles away, and now she's working that camera once again. Thank you, Lori, for all that you do. Glad you made it back from your trip to the lighthouse alive. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.